Welcome to CareCast, CareNet's podcast on family, faith, and life with Roland Warren, CareNet's president and CEO, and Vincent DeCaro, CareNet's chief outreach officer. CareCast and more pro-abundant life commentary from CareNet can be found at care-net.org, where you can watch videos, download ebooks, and subscribe to the Abundant Life blog. Now let's listen in on what Roland and Vince have for us this week on CareCast.
Well, Roland, here we are for another podcast episode.
Yes.
CareCast, I believe, is the name of the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to edit that out.
Yeah.
Messed up our brand.
I know. It's not just the podcast.
This is like, I don't know, calling cornflakes like something else.
I know. It has a name. It has a brand.
Yeah.
And we need to stick to it.
Aren't you our chief marketing officer guy? Aren't you the...
Something like that.
Oh, my God.
I sometimes forget what my title is.
It's so hard. It's so hard to get good help.
That's right. I mean, it's only been 12 years that I've been here, so just, I'm getting there.
You're getting there. You're getting there.
Yes. Yeah.
CareCast.
CareCast. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And we're here in the frigid confines of the frozen tundra, as they used to refer to Lambeau Field. But even though it's summer and it's very hot out, this room is
freezing.
Especially cold.
Especially cold.
So, I know you could probably see our breath. Yeah,
I know. So we're sorry. We're sorry about that.
Yeah. It's not pretty.
Yeah.
But but we have an interesting one to talk about. This actually helped us kind of go back to some of our history in terms of the work that we did at National Fatherhood Initiative, where you and I both were before CareNet.
Yep.
There was
small children.
Yeah, when we were little kids. Working. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was an article that came out recently from the Institute of Family Studies about a church in Texas that actually challenged the couples in the church who were cohabiting. They were living together, while not married, and challenged them to put a ring on it. Yeah. And they ended up actually having 52 couples within the church actually attend a mass marriage ceremony, which is pretty remarkable. I mean, that's 104 people that were church-going Christians who thought it was okay for them to be living together before they got married.
Yeah. And one of the things I love about that is this pastor just went forward and said this. And unfortunately, I think in too many churches, this is sort of something that is not brought up. In other words, the pastors don't talk about it and they don't want
to make people feel uncomfortable or judged
or anything like that. But it's a very biblical thing. I mean, it is biblical, right?
Oh, for sure.
And it's something that you definitely should preach on. And there's real benefits to marriage.
Absolutely.
Beyond it, just being what the Bible mandates, right? There are benefits that come from marriage that these couples who are cohabiting, are not getting.
Right.
And there's risks associated to that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of where the crux of the story is, so to speak, which is that there's this broadly held belief now, even among church-going Christians, not quite as much as in their general culture, but still pretty strongly believed within the church, that there's really not that much of a difference between cohabitation and marriage. Or if anything, cohabitation is a good, wise thing to do to kind of test out the relationship before you get married. So it's, smarter to live together before you get married, and you'll end up having a better marriage as a result. None of the research supports that.
None of the research. And, and I'll tell you something. I have used this illustration with other people because it actually happened. And it's actually true. I was on an airplane some years ago, and I was sitting next to a pilot. And we got
shouldn't he have been in the front of the plane? I guess he had autopilot.
Good point.
Yeah. Okay. So
that's a good point.
Right. I was on a plane ride and I was sitting next to the pilot.
But then that could have been I was a pilot too. I didn't say where we were.
That's right. You could have been the co-pilot.
I could have been in the cockpit. See, Vince. See, you're
playing 4D chess right now.
This is such a complex podcast.
It is. There's so many layers.
So many layers. But I'm sure people are tracking with us, right? So anyway, back to my story.
I'm sorry. Yes. You were sitting next to a pilot. Okay.
And we struck up a conversation, and I asked him about the flight simulator.
Yes.
You've seen those things. Right. The pilots do the flight simulator thing. And I said to him, I said, man, doing that flight simulator, that must be so much fun. And he stopped and he said, no. He said, absolutely not fun at all. He said, it's terrifying. It's nerve-wracking.
Wow.
I said, what? Why was that? And interestingly, as he kind of talked a little bit about it, I thought about it later. It's like, yeah, that's right. Because when I think about going into a flight simulator, it's a game.
Right.
I can just push the reset button and we can just do a whole new flight. But when the pilots in the flight simulator. It's not a game, because the
Right.
mistake that he makes, it's a real mistake, and he sees the life and death consequences of that. Now,
Yeah.
what's the difference between me and the pilot? Commitment.
That's right. That's
Commitment.
right. That's
See,
right.
he's committed to being a pilot. So the flight simulator is real because he's committed to being a pilot.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
for me, it's just a game.
Right.
So when you're cohabiting, it's just a game.
Right.
When you're married, no, it's real.
Yeah, and I think in order to make that statement that you just made real for people, it actually, we thought about this article that you published 10 years ago, and I think the idea for this article came even longer before that, when we were at National Fatherhood Initiative together, and we were in these conversations with the federal government, the Department of Health and Human Services, about helping people form healthy marriages, right? And so this whole kind of question came up of what is a healthy marriage and how do you define that and all this. And we were fortunate to be involved in those conversations, and they led to some good things. But this got you thinking about, okay, well, what really is the difference between a healthy marriage and a, quote, healthy or cohabiting relationship? And you actually came up with 16 questions.
16 questions
that couples can ask themselves.
Yes.
And if you look at these 16 questions, the way you would answer those questions is entirely different based on whether or not you're cohabiting or if you're married. And in fact, some of the questions you really can't even answer if you're cohabiting. There's just no real way to answer them, regardless of how great your cohabiting relationship is. And it really helps highlight, no, there actually are real, tangible, important differences between cohabitation and marriage.
Oh, absolutely. Because in marriage, there's a covenant commitment.
Right.
And you can't simulate commitment.
Right. That's
so,
right.
like, pretend that you're committed to me.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
I mean,
for you, pretend that you're going into this flight simulator, assuming that there would actually be real consequences if you were to make a mistake. I mean, it's impossible for you to do that.
It's impossible because,
but for the pilot, it's very real.
For the pilot, it's real because he's got the commitment before he goes into the simulator.
Yeah, that's
so the
right.
simulator is not going to help you see how you're going to respond.
Not at all. Yeah,
at all.
Right.
Unless you have the commitment first.
That's right.
So that's why cohabiting doesn't actually help you figure out whether marriage is good or not.
That's
because you're not committed and you can't practice commitment.
You can't fake commitment.
You have to either be committed or not be committed.
Yeah, and if you are committed, then you'll just get married.
Exactly.
Yep.
And the other thing, and this is a central thing people don't think about, when you're in marriage and some issue comes up, you're trying to figure out, how can I stay? Like, how can I stay?
Right.
Like, that's like, I've got this commitment. So how can I make this work? How can I stay?
Right.
When you're in a cohabiting situation, you're trying to figure out, when should I leave?
That's right. That's right.
So a situation comes up and you go like, is this the one that makes me exit? Is this when I leave now? Because it's two very different, it's two very different things, and it's all connected back to commitment.
Yeah. No, let's read a couple of these questions. We don't have to read all 16 of them. We'll post them to the comments and websites and things like that so people can find them. But again, think about how you would answer this question if you're in a cohabiting relationship with somebody versus if you're married to that person.
And here's the other thing too about these questions before you ask them.
Yeah.
These questions exist whether you say them or not.
That's right.
In other words, so you say, well, we don't even ask, but you do.
Yeah. You're answering them whether or not you've actually asked them out loud. Yeah.
Because you're walking, there's a certain level of assumptions that you're making in that relationship. And these are things that are actually real things that as married people, you talk about and think about. And if you're not married and you're you're still dealing with these things.
Yeah. So anyway, for sure. Yeah. That's absolutely true. So, all right. So here's one of them. Are you and your mate in agreement regarding how long your love for each other should last? Okay.
Right.
When you're married, forever is the answer to that question.
Forever is the answer.
Yeah. Let's see. Is it okay for you and your mate to date other people? Do you expect your mate to help you pay off your debts? Are you willing to delay your career advancement so that your mate can advance their career? Do you expect to be put in your mate's will, and are you expected to put your mate in yours? Should you care or provide for your mate's family members, and are they expected to do the same for yours? Are you expected to save for your mate's retirement, and do you have the same expectations for them? And on and on and on.
Yeah.
So again, if you're cohabiting, the answers to those questions could be maybe, if we want to, I guess so, I don't know. But if you're married, the answer to those every single one of those questions is yes.
Exactly.
Like immediately.
Immediately.
Yeah. Right.
Like those are, you'd say, well, of course.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing. So to me, I've kind of recommended to folks that, are cohabiting, continuing marriage. Yeah. Put the 16 questions together. You take part of them and take the questions and then give the
secretly write down your answers, have them write
and then have them write down and then kind of compare.
You might not be cohabiting for much longer after you compare. Yeah.
Absolutely. So a lot of people act as though like these kinds of things don't exist.
Right. Right.
Like these questions don't exist because we don't talk about it, but they do.
Right.
You have a certain expectation.
Yes.
Right. And one of the biggest conflicts in any relationship is unfulfilled, unspoken, unmet expectations.
That's right. Now you're doing a whole thing around the power of intimate relationships, aren't you?
Yes. That's going to be my conference speech.
That's right.
Yeah.
Our CareNet's national conference coming up actually next week. Oh my goodness.
Week?
Yeah.
Oh, I better get working on that speech.
You better write that speech.
I have the title.
Good thing I remanded you. Yeah.
I'll get right on that.
So and that's what you did your master's thesis on, I believe, right? Yeah. So
pastoral counseling.
Yeah, that's right.
With the focus on marriage and family, but this is a really central thing, and especially this is a big part of what we spend a lot of time talking about, especially when you think about marriage and from the context of children,
right?
And the best environment to raise children, and the issues related to children who have cohabiting parents. See those couples break up at much higher rates than couples who are married, and certainly in a lot of cohabiting situations, children exist or they have children in that context, and and it's the same thing. It's the same viewpoint that marriage and cohabitation is exactly the same thing. Well, then why wouldn't you marry?
Right.
Because it's not exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
That's why you wouldn't marry.
That's
because
right. Absolutely.
When you get married, you actually are kind of forced to deal with these questions because your spouse is going to come into that relationship with some expectations around the answers to these questions.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can see that. I mean, I know in my own life, and you've probably done the same thing in your own life, in your life too. When my wife Yvette and I got married, I was working, and then she took time off with our kids. Mm-hmm. And there was opportunities potentially for me to do some other things in my career, but I didn't do them so that she could go to medical school. Mm-hmm. And then she went to medical school and went to residency. And then I did some things, and I went and got my MBA after that, even though I wanted to get my MBA earlier than that. But I delayed that for her because we were a couple. The two become one. So we were making decisions with that perspective.
For the mutual benefit of each other and your whole family.
Exactly. So I was investing in her.
Right. And she was investing in you.
Because we had a commitment to each other.
That's
now,
right.
If we had just been living together and an opportunity came up for a promotion for me.
Right.
And I'm like,
You've been like, good luck with the kids. Yeah. I mean,
like, should I delay that promotion, or should I put my MBA on the back burner and the economic opportunities that come from that to allow her to move forward?
Yeah. And the point is that if you had, regardless of what you would have chosen to do in that hypothetical situation, it would have been right.
Yes.
Like there is, because that's the point. Like there is no right or wrong answer really to that question. But if you're married and somebody asks you, like, did you make any sacrifices for your spouse? And you're like, nope. Then then inherently that's wrong. That's the wrong answer.
It's perfect because if you're living with somebody and they say, "Are you making these sacrifices for your cohabiting partner?" and you say no, and they say, "Well, that makes sense."
I mean, that's your choice. Yeah,
exactly. But if you were to say that about your spouse, you didn't make any sacrifices for your spouse,
right. No,
you would know that couldn't be much of a marriage.
That's right. That's right.
Because a marriage requires commitment.
Right.
And when you make a commitment to something, that means you're not committing to something else, even if it's something that you want. And when you don't commit to that other thing that you may want, it's a sacrifice.
That's right.
But it's a one that you make because of the commitment to the relationship.
That's right.
And you can't, quote, simulate that.
Right. And again, all of this, the whole point of all this is that there's absolutely a difference between cohabitation and marriage. And again, that point has been lost on our culture largely, even among those who are church-going Christians.
Yeah, even on too many church-going Christians have lost the same thing. Yeah,
and certainly, the connecting this back to CareNet's issue of abortion. We are as folks know who have been listening to us for any amount of time, we're a pro-abundant life ministry, right? Which means that we want to save babies from abortion, build strong, God-honoring families, and make disciples for Jesus Christ. And so it's incredibly important in terms of preventing abortions and breaking that intergenerational cycle of abortions, for fathers to be involved, for mothers and fathers to have a healthy view of marriage and to get married when possible, or to pass down the values of marriage to their children if they themselves can't or won't get married. And so marriage is an integral part of creating the kinds of God-honoring families that are going to be less likely to choose abortion, and obviously less likely to have children who will end up being in unplanned pregnancies later in life. And again, there's decades of research that sort of plays all of that out. And so we care deeply about marriage, fatherhood, and motherhood because we care about the abortion issue.
Yeah.
Right?
Those things are all interconnected. And as you know, looking at the data, about 87% of the women that have abortions are unmarried. So you're actually not going to solve the abortion issue. Right. Without addressing the marriage issue.
That's right.
You're not going to solve it because that's a big driver, because the best societal glue to connect the father to his kids heart to heart, both in the womb and outside the womb, is if he's connected heart to heart to the mother of his kids.
That's right.
And the most enduring way to connect that father to the mother of those kids is if he's a husband to her.
Right. That's right.
And then a father to the child growing inside her.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's what we see. That's what happens, and just from a practical standpoint. So
and that's we see in the birth of Christ, as well as we've talked about at length on this podcast. So so what this pastor's doing, I'm not wearing a hat, but if I had it, you would be taking it off.
I would be taking. So right now for you, I'm gonna.
Your hat's already off, but
there's a virtual hat.
Hat's off. I'm
taking it out. What kind of hat am I wearing?
A Stetson? No, you're not a Stetson guy. No. I don't know what they're called, but I can picture the kind of hat that you would be wearing.
Yeah. We should get mail on that. What kind of hat?
What kind of hat should Roland wear?
What kind of hat should I wear? And what kind of virtual hat was I wearing when I took it off?
That's right. Yes.
And there's a right answer to that.
We'll take suggestions. Yes, there is a right answer.
There's a right answer.
That is one of the 16. So we'll put these 16 questions up. And actually, I think it's probably worth noting, just because it's funny, that one of your inspirations for coming up with these 16 questions was actually a conversation between Jerry Seinfeld and Elaine on the show Seinfeld, where they're defining the relationship, right? The whole friends with benefits thing. And you got to thinking that, like, if they were to actually ask themselves questions like this, it would highlight the difference between that and a covenant marriage.
Absolutely, because that was what they were trying to do. They were trying to figure out, well, how can we, we're going to have sex, but we want to put some parameters around this. What they were going to do and all that. Obviously, it's comedic in terms of how they do that, but it's a very serious topic in terms of that, because they were trying to figure out how can we couple without being a couple.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And sex is an intimate thing, and it's problematic. Because it's not sort of like a plug in a socket. You just pull it out, and there's no. You had contact, but there was nothing that was left behind. It's not the way sex works. That's not the way it was designed to work. And that's why the covenant of marriage is so central to where that's supposed to take place.
Absolutely. So that's great, Roland. So like I said, we will get links and things up so that you guys can see all 16 of these questions. And again, hats off to this church for boldly taking a stand around the importance of marriage. And helping folks see why that's so important. And so we're just hopeful that more churches do that. And again, this is just another thing that needs to happen in our culture in order to save more babies from abortion, right?
Absolutely.
The stronger the institution of marriage is, the weaker the abortion culture becomes in our nation. So, all right. Thank you, Roland.
All right.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of CareCast. For more Pro-Abundant Life commentary and practical resources, please visit care-net.org. There you can subscribe to the Abundant Life blog, giving you access to videos, ebooks, podcasts, and other resources to help turn your pro-life passion into pro-abundant life action. Until next time, we pray that God blesses you and yours daily.